So before we start this episode, I'd just like to apologize for last week. I know we gave you Stacked After Hours, but we were supposed to hand you a Christmas special of all of our Christmas movies. And if you haven't checked out our picks, you can still check them out on all our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. But yeah, my recording software was awful, and it didn't record any of my audio. So it's better to just not have a podcast than have a podcast with two people talking to someone who's not there. Right? So, yeah, that's what happened last week. Sorry about that, everyone. But it won't happen again, because guess what? I'm recording on something new. I don't know if you noticed. Maybe things sound a little bit better. I don't know. But guess what? We're here recording a new episode. Welcome, everyone, to Stacked, the true episode 28. You know, the Christmas special was supposed to be 28, but now this is 28. This is the ultimate episode of 2020. Even though this is coming out January 1st, welcome to the new year, everyone. You know, we're still in 2020. You're in 2021. Lucky you. But yeah, this is our in review of this weird, chaotic year that was 2020. And weird and chaotic is a great definition, not only for the year as a whole, but for this year in movies. I'm joined, as always, with my boys.
I'm Brandon.
And I'm Chris. What the hell was that?
That was Baby Whittle Brandon.
Yeah, we're Baby Boy.
Baby Boy.
I have aged backwards like a Benjamin Button.
No, you're like Baby New Year.
No, that's you. Have you seen him? Look at his
Not
little
true.
ears.
Nope.
Look at
not
those
true.
curly blonde locks. That was totally Ethan. Wait, for everyone,
Bullshit.
we're not. Everybody, this is look up Rudolph Shiny New Year Baby. Pull up
Baby.
Okay, everybody. I want you to go look up Rudolph Shiny New Year Baby. Okay,
and then put
I
a
want you
picture
to
up next
look
to
at the
Ethan.
picture. The picture's on screen. Look at it. Now look at a picture of me. And I want you to, you can do the rest.
It's like doppelgangers. Like I can't tell the difference. Like
That's bullshit. It's not true.
that.
Brandon said, Brandon, you said I look like Ken Jeong.
Yeah. That tweet you put out was like, look, here's the stat crew. It's like, yeah, you're the kid from Ferris Bueller. No shit. That's like,
Everyone says that. Yeah.
everyone says that's average. And then you just do these two caricatures. You choose any Asian person for Chris.
I did not. I did not.
Yeah?
I thought
Brandon really thought it through and decided I look like a Korean man.
Enough.
He's
A
not even
Korean doctor
Chinese.
who's a comedian.
enough. It's enough.
And I'm a freaking baby. Are you kidding
Yes,
me?
that's
I'm a
100%.
man, damn it.
Look, it's a spitting image. I don't know.
All right, but yeah, boys, we're at the end of 2020. What a fucking weird year has been for movies.
Yeah.
I want to
Just
ask you too. What was it like picking your stack for the best movies of 2020?
I think this was a really, really weird year to do it because I think it's just like, you know, we're so used to having like Oscar season and everything. And like, you know, where movies are just like, for whatever reason, just better towards the end of the year or something. But like, I don't know, like this year, because of the virus and everything, a lot of movies getting delayed and pushed back or, you know, rescheduled to like 2021. We're kind of in a really weird year where I think I've watched more movies from like the past than I have in the year that I'm watching them. So I'm watching a lot of like older movies. So this year is kind of a challenge to pick out my favorites, but also it's, you know, it's still something like, it's fun to think like a movie that you would never think would be on this list could potentially be on this year.
There are no good blockbuster movies this year, or at least no great ones.
There's
Like,
one.
There is
There's two.
one that no.
There's two.
There's one good one that we saw together.
Might show up on this podcast.
I hope it does. I hope it does.
Wait, are we thinking about the same? I don't know.
No,
I think I might.
Don't say it.
I'm definitely thinking of the wrong movie.
There are
Well-
two great blockbusters that for one time I each saw with both of you.
Okay, well, I've seen this movie twice. I saw it once with Ethan and once with you guys, with both
Don't
of you
mention
again.
it. Don't say.
Are you
Is
serious?
it on?
Ethan?
Is it on anybody's stack?
I don't want to say.
Yeah, it's not gonna be on yours. Okay. It's not on yours, Chris. It was Bad Boys for Life. It's not on mine. Let's honorable mention.
Honorable mention of Bad Boys for Life.
There's one good blockbuster movie that came out this year, and it's actually Doolittle. No, just kidding.
Doolittle.
No.
That was this year. Damn.
Yeah, it feels like when that movie came out, I was working at a movie theater.
The world was still somewhat okay.
But I mean, this list was difficult for me too, because like usually I'm accustomed to seeing about 100 movies to 150 movies a year from the year.
Yeah.
Because like we took advantage of A-List, I worked at a movie theater, so it was like I saw as much movies as possible when I could. And this year I've seen just about 40 or 50, so I'm really under par. So there's like a limited selection, but I've been beefing up in the last week or two. And saw a lot of movies.
And also, like, the movies that are being praised right now are, like, they're not available to the public until 2021. It's so...
Exactly.
So why is that being counted as a 2020 movie, you know? Like,
because they saw
Promising Young Woman, Nomadland, you know?
Yeah,
Minari,
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Come on.
Yeah, that's the tough part of it all.
It's kind of something I don't like about critics right now, where it just feels like I can't engage with their conversations about the best films of the year, you know?
Like you usually do.
Yeah, because I can't see those movies, you know? It's not my fault that I can't engage. And I guess, I don't know, it's not their fault either. Maybe
I think mad critics at the world.
Should be more responsible for, like, saying, you know, like, this isn't a 2020 movie if no one else can watch it, you know? I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, weird year for movies.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a weird stack, but let's break it down, shall we? But before we get to that, let's just run down the rules of the show real quick, real fast. Once a week, we set a topic or theme and go our separate ways to construct our own 3-film stack. Then after a week, we come back here on the podcast and share our own stacks 1 film at a time. Then at the end of the show, we will mix and match our 9 films to make the ultimate decision on what quintessential 3-film stack we're checking out this hypothetical video store. Sorry, everyone. I'm drinking a Smirnoff Ice tonight. Because, hey, it's the end of the year. I'm celebrating. What can I say, you know? I'm here with my boys. I'm having a drink. We're talking about the movies of the year. Come on.
Yeah.
What could be better than that, you know?
I already drank mine at 10 a.m. this morning.
Jesus.
Okay.
That's alcoholism.
We do not condone that one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we do. Get back.
Maybe. Yeah, we'll
talk about it. We'll talk about it. Let's see what happens.
Chris.
Woo. Okay.
Kick off the list for us.
Yep. All right. Well, yeah, like we said, this was kind of a tricky year, you know, just a lot of movies getting pushed back. And I did miss a couple of movies that did come out this year, and it just kind of never registered with me. Like, I never got around to seeing like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom or The Trial of the Chicago 7. It's like an Aaron Sorkin movie that apparently is like getting Oscar hype. I don't know. It's Aaron Sorkin. Who knows?
Yeah.
But contrary to that, my first film was actually going to be a film the 3 of us saw together with a couple of our other friends too, at your place, Ethan.
Oh!
Norbit?
No.
I'm kidding.
It's a film directed by Dean Parasot. Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Oh, yeah.
Wow!
Yeah.
Okay! Tell us about it.
So, you know, we all know Bill and Ted as those 2 guys from... What year was that first movie? The 90s? Or 80s?
The late 80s.
Late 80s.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mid to late 80s.
And it's just the most like ridiculous stoner comedy film ever. Like, it's about them traveling through time, finding like historical figures and stuff, and you know, they interact with them, and like, but they're also saving the universe at the same time. It's this whole mess of like what is going on. I don't know, but you know what? It's fun. It's enjoyable. There's a lot of heart. Keanu Reeves and I already forgot his name. The other actor, Alex Winters. They, you know, their dynamic is as strong as it ever was. And yeah, you know, I just had a great time like watching this movie with you guys, and there's a lot of great jokes. There's this robot that is so self-aware about him being a robot that he decides to try and become a human or something.
Dennis Caleb
McCoy as
I love Anthony Carrigan. He's a great actor. If you haven't seen Barry, he's the best.
He played that so well, and like just so many jokes. They literally go to hell in this movie at one point. I mean, like, you know, like it's just the most insane movie. But the thing for me that made it kind of special was when did this movie come out? Like middle of the year
August.
kind of area.
August,
August, yeah.
Yeah.
So this was kind of when, like, you know, we were starting, like, maybe just when we were starting our semester, and, you know, we were all kind of like uncertain and maybe a little bit worried and scared about the future of, like, you know, how it's going to play out. But seeing this movie was a really big breath of fresh air for me, and it kind of just made me go like, okay, you know, it's not all bad. Like,
Right.
they're like, and this was just like a lighthearted, fun time, and honestly, like, sometimes that's just what you need, I feel like. And I don't know, I had a great time seeing it. What do you guys think?
Very great, optimistic film in
Mhm.
this weird year. You know, I had some issues with its filmmaking, like the cinematography was just so weird. It felt like a commercial. You know, I think we talked about that after the movie. You know,
It's like playing with fire.
like, I don't even want. No, why are we talking about that? Come on, this is supposed to be the best of the year, not one of the worst of all time. I don't know, but I mean, it was just so great to see Bill and Ted back together and bring that hope that we needed in this weird year. You know, making the best song ever. You know, I don't tell Joey or maybe even you, Brandon, but the song that come up it's okay. It's okay. I've seen better songs to unite the world. I
No,
bet.
it is.
Coldplay, Viva La Vida.
No.
But
Okay, wait. Real quick tangent. I want to ask: if you guys had to pick a song that would save the universe, what would it be?
Coldplay,
Like-
Viva La Vida.
Is it actually "Viva La Vida" for you?
Yeah, that was a genuine answer.
Oh Jesus! I think
Just
mine,
because, like, I feel like it's
oh.
super accessible and it's choral, so everybody can get
shit,
along.
I thought about this the other day.
I think mine is either God, it's hard. There's so many, but like "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey is great.
It's a good one.
"Don't Stop Me Now" by Queen. A lot of
Lots of
don't
white-
stops. A lot of
lots
don't
of-
stops.
White songs.
Yeah. "More Than a Feeling" by Boston.
Mine
You,
is
Ethan?
what's it called? Calm Susur Todd from End of Evangelion.
What?
Okay.
Sure.
Tumbling down, tumbling down.
I guess.
You know what I'm saying for all you Eva fans out there? No.
No.
I thought about this. What was I gonna say? Oh man, I don't remember. Anyways,
We'll come back to you.
Yeah, it's good, but I would have loved to hear the one that Dave Grohl would have made. They say that in the film.
Yeah,
Because
the one.
if Bill and Ted didn't make the song to unite the universe, then it would have been Dave Grohl. And come
Amazing
on,
cameo.
love Foo Fighters. They're great.
Kid Cudi, you know.
Kid Cudi.
This was my, like, close to my top 5 most anticipated movies of the year.
Mm.
And I was so excited to see this movie. I was disappointed to see it not in theaters because, like, whenever you run into, like, films that are like reboots that you weren't old enough to see or you weren't alive to see in theaters, like the original films, it's kind of cool being able to, like, live that, like, parallel experience of, like, what if you were around and seeing this, like, reboot feature. So something like seeing Star Wars The Force Awakens or the Jurassic World movies, even if they're not super good, you know, it's still like you got that nostalgic feel to it, and you kind of latch onto that with the people in the audience who are super nostalgic about it. But still, regardless, I mean, the film is really good. I think the comedy nails it. I feel like as the film goes along, it really hits its stride. Like, at first I was like, this is kind of awkward in tone and structure. And to a point, it was so many timelines, so messy. And I was like, I don't know if this is really working like I anticipated it to. But, like, the film really finds itself when it's, like, building this, like, band, and Keanu and Alex basically pair up with their daughters. And from those last 20 minutes, I'm like, that's a great movie right there. A great short film, maybe. But yeah, a very good movie. Very messy, like I said. Could have been tighter. But yeah, I mean, a good time. Alcohol not required.
Yeah. Nice. Dude, nice Jeremy Johns reference there, dude. Oh, I remember watching him in 8th grade. That was sick.
Shut up.
Shut up.
I watched his
Yeah.
video today.
Blah. No, I'm just kidding.
I
Watch
watched
whoever
his
the fuck
soul
you want.
review.
I don't care.
You wanted
Yeah.
to see it?
Okay, great way to kick off with a positive movie to kick off the stack.
Okay.
My first pick,
Is Naked.
we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I know.
Is it Bad
This-
Boys?
No.
No, it's a February movie.
It's a February movie. I'd like to say it's the true underdog of
Oh.
2020.
Fuck, I know.
This movie was like the Rocky of
What?
2020.
What are you fucking
Where
talking about?
the public opinion, before it even came out, it was worse than garbage, let's just say.
It was worse
This
than the Emoji Movie.
Worse, and people were ready to crucify this movie because of how it looked.
Including yours truly.
And including yours truly. It looked like a fucking nightmare. But the creators listened, they changed some things, and come February, I got one of the most pleasant surprises in 2020's Jeff Fowler's Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, you know, if you know me well, not if you
Keep
know
trying,
if
keep
you know
trying.
well if you
Keep
know
going,
of me
bro.
well, if you know me of wellness, if you know me well, you know I'm a Sonic fan. Look, you can kind of see Sonic in the background right there. He's sitting on my shelf.
Actually, they can't because this is a
Well,
video
you two can.
podcast. Okay.
But I've been a fan of the characters since I came out of my mom's, I came out of there doing a spin dash like Sonic the Hedgehog, saying, "You're too slow."
You pick up a coin as you get out.
Yep.
Labor's
Some
too
rings.
slow.
Whoa. I did a homing attack on the doctor. Anyways, I loved his games my whole life. So this movie, I was heavily anticipating it, but for all the wrong reasons, just to see how they're gonna massacre my boy. But turns out they made a fun movie. The first time I saw it, I was like, okay, that was pretty good. Second time I saw it was with Brandon. I was like, wow, okay. I really enjoyed that movie. It's nothing like the games. Okay, it is a fictional cartoon character coming to the real world, real life. This time, San Francisco, not New York City. And then hangs out with semi-famous actor. But I think Jim Carrey as Dr. Eggman, he was great, and I can't wait to see him return for the sequel. I thought it was Jim Carrey in his prime, and I don't think we've seen that for a while. So, yeah, I gotta say, this is my biggest surprise of 2020. I gotta say, and I've seen it 3 times this year because I bought it on Blu-ray, and it's a good movie just to put on the background. I threw it on the TV while I was cleaning the house the other day. And I was like, okay, I can picture myself coming back to this one and just for a good time. And yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog. Would have never thought it would made the top of my 2020 list. Let's just say that. Brandon, you've seen the movie. What do you think?
Yeah, Ethan was really nervous to take me to this movie because he had already seen it by this point, and I've been pretty critical of the marketing material, and everybody had. Come on, if you saw the first 2 trailers for that movie,
yeah,
it wasn't a very optimistic feeling. And he's like, "Listen, I got to let you know, there's some product placement in this movie about Olive Garden."
The Olive Garden product placement. Listen, I hate product placement, but this one is so bad, it's amazing.
And I think it plays to it because it is super cartoony, but it's kind of allowed to be in a sense, right?
Right.
Like a movie, we're not probably going to talk about it today because nobody here really liked it that much. But I'm just going to bring it up for comparison. A movie like Wonder Woman 1984 is very cartoony.
Yeah.
But in a way that is doesn't really fit the character or what they were going for with this whole series. And it's not like it couldn't be. But it hadn't been established like that. But with something like a video game character, especially Sonic, who I know to be from the few games that I've played with Sonic in them, as well as things that I've seen outside of, the games. He's a very wisecracking figure, but is not one that's super serious. He's sarcastic in a way that honestly fits the film. And I was surprised by it as much as Ethan was because it did look bad, but I genuinely cared for the characters. There were moments that I actually laughed at that I was not expecting to laugh at, given the fact that the trailers, they don't put things in context really well. And I thought Jim Carrey was pretty okay in this movie. I'm not a big Jim Carrey fan outside of his dramatic work.
Right.
But this is one of his better comedic performances, I'd say, because of how high energy he is, especially at his age,
Yeah.
After Kick-Ass 2, he kind of jumped off a cliff when it came off to making movies, and especially good ones.
Yeah.
You
didn't like Dumb and Dumber 2? Well, come on.
But there's one thing I do want to mention that I don't know if Ethan remembers, but we saw this movie second or third week of February, I want to say.
Yeah.
So this is like right before all the lockdown stuff happened for COVID.
Yeah.
And I remember it was right before the movie, and Ethan's like nervously like, yeah, I don't know about this like disease, and I'm like, oh, it's gonna be fine. Like, don't worry. Like, our medicine our medicine's gonna handle it. Like, that's why no pandemic has ever got here. And then much. I said it's like the 1920s, you know, and then incompetence happened, and now we don't have movies in theaters anymore. Just as it's appropriate cherry on top to the Sonic the Hedgehog movie for me.
Chris, I know you haven't seen it, but like, hey, you should check it out.
I mean, like, so yeah, I never saw this movie. I do still have a snapshot on my phone of us in a theater for another movie, and the trailer for Sonic came on, and I knew that we were in the kind of theater where people will be audible. So I started, like, I took out my Snapchat and I was just recording like the screen, and then when we see Sonic, but in his ugly form, we could hear the entire audience go, ah, and then you hear Brandon in the back go, boo.
You know what movie that was? Detective Pikachu. So we were in an audience of those kind of fans, like of that character. So it was perfect to see a whole crowd of people just moan and groan about how atrocious that trailer was.
Yeah, and like, I guess the only obviously I haven't seen this film, but the only thing I can contribute to the discourse is that like, you were talking about how this was just the most unexpected pleasant surprise of a film in a time where you just weren't expecting it to ever have been as good as it was, at least to you.
Yeah.
And I had a similar experience last night with Spies in Disguise.
In Disguise.
I won't get into it too much because it's not part of the stack. But I just want to say, a lot better than people say it is. I think it's genuinely a really great movie. I really want these guys to see it. So yeah, just want to put that out there. But yeah, good pick for your first one, Ethan. I'm surprised I didn't see this one coming.
Also, fun fact, Sonic the Hedgehog is the highest grossing movie of this year. So
in North American releases.
I think so. Yeah, maybe North American. But talk about an underdog story there. Thing that was universally hated by everyone by the first image is now the highest grossing North American movie of the year.
It's kind of crazy. What do you guys think the highest grossing movie of the year would have been? If COVID didn't happen.
What Marvel movie was coming out?
It was Black Widow and Eternals.
So I don't think either of those would have made over like
Tenet?
Dune?
What, Mulan? Maybe?
No.
Dune
I think Soul. You guys are Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah. Wonder Woman might have done it. Because they're doing really well right now, aren't they? Like with the numbers?
They just released a sequel today. Because like apparently half of the subscribers watched it the first day. So they're like, okay, that means like we got something good on our hands.
I'm just saying, no.
I read the article. I was like, okay, directed by Patty Jenkins, but then I saw it written by Patty Jenkins, and I was like,
no,
she's not a writer. Sorry.
No. I was just shocked by how polarizing it was.
Okay,
the most polarizing movie. Sorry.
We're not talking about Wonder Woman 1984.
It's the most polarizing episode.
Unless your movie is Wonder Woman 1984, keep going. But
Brandon, switch it so we can talk about it.
Let's talk about I wanted to split my list up into 3 different types of movies. A movie I was surprised by, my best like movie, and my best and one of the best animated films of the year. Because I think animation is like kind of an important area of cinema that I have come to appreciate more this year.
Yeah.
Gotten into anime more. I've watched the majority all of Disney's films, all of Pixar's movies, all of Studio Ghibli's movies. So I feel like I've gained a new appreciation for the genre.
Yes.
And it's technically not even a genre, it's an art form. So
yeah.
Let's talk about my favorite animated film of the year. It's not Soul, it's Wolfwalkers by I forgot the people who did it. But it's this Irish, Scottish, English production about 2 girls, one a wolfwalker who is essentially a human being who can shapeshift at night when she sleeps into a soul like wolf.
Right.
And like she roams around, and this is this traditionalistic tale between a growing city, and the rapid industrialization of the woods. and it's man's relationship with nature, and it's a very beautiful, striking 2D animated film. And this film really made me miss 2D animation. Like if Ghibli wasn't enough this year, like watching all their films, watching a film like Wolfwalkers at the pinnacle of the year when, I mean, Soul's coming out, and a lot of people love Soul, and I really like Soul, but like to see a 2D animated film express really mature topics through this very beautiful and grungy looking lens is something I kind of miss. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. I think this was a pleasant surprise for me when I saw it. I adored the animation. I haven't seen anything like it. It's like the art style is very much like an old folk tale, like medieval storybook, you know? So everything's very it looks like it's like drawn on an old piece of paper, you know, with like a feather pen, you know what I'm saying? And characters are very blocky. Sort of reminds me of like a Russian animation style, something like Genndy Tartakovsky.
Yeah.
But then I love how they talk about like background distorting, like the background animations, you know, like perspective is really crazy, like a point of view, you know,
like seeing the city from far away versus seeing the woods from far away. It's like the hills are super big and it's like rounded, and it's like,
and then the city's just like a flat block,
exactly,
you know.
Yeah,
and that's so cool. And I think they also do something cool, like a lot like anime, I think, where when characters feel like really intense emotions, the backgrounds will sort of like convey those emotions, you know? Like I saw when characters are angry, like the background will be all scribbly and stuff like that. And I was just like, that's so fucking cool. In terms of the story's narrative, I thought I've seen the story like 400 million times. So I thought it was still pretty good, pretty well written. Characters are well written. I've seen this before, but guess what? That's not why I'm watching this movie. I can still take a step back and appreciate it for what it's doing in terms of moving the animation art form forward, you know?
Yeah.
I did have some problems with the animation. I think it's weird when digital animation sort of does a high frame rate, yet doesn't sort of play into like lots of motion in the characters. So I find it's sort of like an uncanny valley for me when characters will simply just like move arms like a puppet animation. You know, if puppet animation, if you're in Flash, you can like draw a character and like manipulate him, that drawing, instead of redrawing it over and over again, you know?
Yeah.
I saw that a lot in this movie, but it was like in sort of mundane moments, you know, when characters are just talking or something like that. And that stuff kind of bothers me, but like when during the high action scenes in this movie, like the animation just takes off, and I was so impressed with it. I think it's my second favorite animated movie of the year. If you don't include Alien Xmas, because that was sort of like a Christmas special.
Let's go, bro.
Because that movie was delightful. But I wonder if you'll talk about the other one. You might not. Do you?
How are you talking?
The other really great animated movie that we saw this year?
No.
Lupin the first?
No, I'm not. I'm not talking.
That's still my favorite. I that's not on my stack, but
The reason
that's still by far my
Wolfwalkers made me
favorite.
emotional. Like
Yeah?
that movie had me. Yeah, like I don't cry in movies very often. My friends know that. I don't emote in movies.
I don't emote. You are a robot.
I'm a robot when I watch a movie. You can only tell what I like about a movie by what I say after and how I'm leaning forward and backwards, as we've talked
Yes.
about.
Yeah.
Brandon's back posture is how you can tell how he likes a movie.
Yeah, you should have seen me during Wonder Woman.
No, shut up about Wonder Woman. We don't want that toxic discourse on this podcast.
But
Okay?
it's fun.
The internet is blowing up because of it. I don't want anything to do with it.
Okay,
anymore.
well,
All right,
I
I'm
won't
done.
mention it again. But it's but this movie really like struck a chord with me, and I think it's like the best version of all those stories that because I agree with you. We've seen this story before. Like when it first started, I was like, okay, we're doing this, and I was
Yeah.
like, I was at like a 3.5, but like as the story developed, the characters are just so likable, and the world is just so like well developed that it feels lived in and magical, and like it's the movie. I say this in my review. It's the movie Brave wishes it was,
Yes.
because the moments in this movie work emotionally for the characters. It feels like it captures the culture like very perfectly. And Brave, I'm not saying it doesn't. I just feel it feels too much like a cartoon, too much like a Disney movie, and not enough like a Pixar movie, if you know what I mean. And in this movie, it feels relatively personal, and in that sense, it just struck a chord with me more. So,
Chris, have you heard of this movie? Interested in seeing it? Because I know you haven't seen it.
I've only heard about Wolfwalkers, never seen anything of it. I have no idea what it's about. But no, I mean, like animation, like Brian, you were talking about right before you introduced the film, like how animation is kind of like starting to become a more prominent part of your, viewing experience with cinema. And it's like it's less of like it's specialty animated film now. Even though it is kind of special, it's still like it's becoming more and more like this is as valid of a movie as any other live action film. And I think I'm also starting to gravitate towards that. So, I'm very much intrigued to see that. And like, you guys know that I now have Brandon's HBO Max login, so I can see Studio Ghibli films. So yeah. But yeah, that sounds great. Like based on what you guys are talking about, that sounds really interesting.
You should definitely check it out. Well, Chris, it's back to you. Want to go into your second film?
Well, I started my first movie with something a little bit, like very light and uplifting. So I'm going to flip that a little bit. I'm going to a pretty depressing movie, but I will bring it back for the third. This second movie is a film, believe it or not, released in 2020, directed by a woman. A woman. Her name is Eliza Hittman. It's a film Hitman, yeah. It's a film titled Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
Oh yeah.
The blockbuster hit.
Yeah, I'm the big blockbuster hit. So I'm the only one who had seen this movie because I'm the only feminist in Stacked.
Oh wow!
I'm kidding.
Tell us about it. Tell us about this movie. I know a lot of critics have been talking about this movie. So
yeah. So what's it about? Yeah, this movie is about a woman who she's seeking out help in New York City because she had an unintended pregnancy. And it's a film about her identity, how that has shifted, the way people see her as someone who is looking for help, an abortion or whatnot. And, it's just like this whole exploration of how the discourse surrounding a woman's identity seems to be, for whatever reason, shaped by this one tiny part of who she is and her experiences as a result of it. It's a movie about the male gaze a lot. But one thing I really love about this film, well, two things. One, I love Eliza Hittman's direction. I think she does a really great job with bringing out this kind of gritty and grimy like sense of reality. And I think that's further made possible by this film shooting in this 16 millimeter format where you have a lot more texture and grain and grit and grime to the image. There's this real sense of gesture, and that's ingrained into every part of this film. I compared this film in my review to Wong Kar-wai's kind of direction, where every little glance and touch and gesture has such a delicate meaning to it. And I don't know, I think it's really interesting to me with this film because there isn't really an antagonist or like a central plot following, for you to follow. It's very much a story about this girl and her living out her life in this like very difficult time. But yeah, that's what this film's about. And like, I very much liked it. I gave it 4 out of 5. I don't think it's a perfect movie. But I do really admire like the level of intimacy and delicateness that was approached to this subject matter. Yeah. Okay, I feel like I just explained the entire movie, but I mean,
okay. Now that I say that I've seen it, it's great. I'm just kidding. No, that sounds really interesting. 2020 is like, I thought it was a really great year to discover films like these. Where it's like, it's these really lower budget and more personal films. You know, and this just sounds like another shining example of how 2020 was able to let more people view these kind of films because of streaming, and letting people actually have the time to discover stuff like this. So
Sure.
this is highly on my watch list, and I want to watch it because I've heard so many great things. Brandon?
Well, the thing is, I remember seeing this film circulate at festivals and get highly rated and stuff, but I saw the trailer for it and I wasn't really all that interested in it. But I think since it's up for awards contention, I should check it out. And I mean, it just got onto HBO Max, so I think that should be a good thing. But like I'm kind of nervous. Like I don't know if it's my type of movie. Like the subject matter is interesting to me, but maybe it's the way it looks or the way it like plays in the trailer. I'm not sure. It's a feeling that I kind of have like uneasiness about. But I'm not like one of those people on Rotten Tomatoes, because I don't know what you guys, or if you guys saw, but when the movie got released and people could start to review it and stuff, like it had such like a high rating, like an 80%. And I'm not saying critics and audiences always have to agree, but it was like almost as if it was getting like review bombed, a la like the first Wonder Woman or Captain Marvel, because of its subject matter and such. And it has like a 20% now, and it's such a weird sort of thing because I know a lot of people who like it, so I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on it, but I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Pro-lifers, man. Fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Insane.
They should watch that Sister short we watched last year. The one that Ethan thought was an abortion short.
Wait, what was that? I feel like that sounds familiar.
It was that Chinese animated short.
Oh.
He was like, is that a pro-life thing that they nominated? Or like, no.
Like, no, this is an anti... And I'm like, oh, stupid. All right. My next pick, speaking of me being a blubbering idiot because I'm a little buzzed on this podcast, I took this movie's message to heart for me tonight. I tried to see if it would work. And I'll let the listeners determine if it worked or not. But my next pick is from a very acclaimed director, Thomas Vinterberg. He came out with a new release this year, famous Danish director, called Another Round, starring everyone's boy, Mads Mikkelsen. Okay. And this movie blew me away. I've only seen The Celebration. That's his only other film I've seen. I gotta see The Hunt.
Yes.
I'm probably gonna watch it this week.
Do it.
Or once I finish my 2020 movies, because I want to. Those are top priority right now before the end of the year. But this movie is about a group of high school teachers who are friends, and their lives are pretty mundane right now. Especially Mads Mikkelsen, who he's sort of like failing as a teacher. A lot of the parents are complaining. As a husband too, because his wife works at the hospital and he never sees her because she works the nights and he works during the day during the school hours, But so his life kind of sucks right now because he never gets to see his wife. The school is complaining that he's not preparing his senior students enough for the big final exam. I guess Danish schools, like, they have this big exam at the end of the seniors, like at the end of the run. Yeah. And it's like an oral exam. It's kind of interesting. It's so cool. But like after that, if they pass, they get to have like this huge party and stuff like that. So there's like a really big pressure on these students to pass, and they're really angry that he's like not
a good teacher,
100% there. Yeah. So he and his other high school teachers, one's a coach, one's a choir teacher, and then the other is a psychology teacher. The psychology teacher brings up this Norwegian study that humans lack 0.05% blood alcohol content to function. And if we sustained a 0.05 blood alcohol content, like, we would be using our brains to like its most, So these high school teachers, they're like, fuck it, let's try it. And so this movie is just about these 4 high school teachers getting more and more drunk. And it's kind of like a big dip at a roller coaster, Yeah. Where it's like everything seems like it's just going great for them, Like Mads Mikkelsen, he's now like an amazing teacher,
His wife loves him.
His wife loves him. He's a great family man, you know. But then, hey, turns out drinking a shitload of alcohol
has detrimental effects on your life.
Is detrimental effects. And so the movie just, you know, it plays with that. And it is a wild ride. I thought it was a great balance of comedy and drama, which I thought was also really well balanced in The Celebration, where it's very realist and dark comedy, you know, with great dramatic moments. It's super fun, and it's a super interesting subject matter too. And it's one of the best, I think Brandon and I both agree, it's one of the best endings of the year.
Oh.
All the actors pull in great performances. This is a must watch, in my opinion. I know you can rent it everywhere right now, and I highly suggest you do it. Brandon, you've seen this movie. What do you think?
Really like it. I saw it before Ethan, actually.
Yeah.
I was the one that was like, hey, you got to see this movie because I think you'll like it. I mean, all of us, I think, really liked The Celebration when we saw it, I think, freshman year. And when I actually got to check out another round, I was just like, this movie is like so original and unique. You don't see movies that tackle, well, alcoholism as well as like the idea of alcohol and like what it's used for in like an interesting manner. Like usually it's like, yeah, it's just a background item used, or you see alcoholism depicted as dark and depressing all the time in cinema. But in like it kind of follows the same story as like Icarus, like you flew too close to the sun sort of thing. And in that sense, it's like a very tragic story, like Shakespearean almost. But honestly, you have some great characters in there, great comedic moments, but the drama in between the comedy is really, really great. I think the transition between it can be a little rough sometimes, but I think when you're really in a moment where something's really uncomfortable, or a certain character has to make a decision about something, or other characters are having a discussion about something that's really serious, like it's super engaging and really rewarding. Because like I said, and like Ethan has said, the ending of this movie is just fantastic. Like the way it kind of, and I'm not going to spoil it, I'm going to be really careful here because it's like amazing.
It's a must watch.
The way it like melds, this is the best transition in the movie in my opinion. The way it melds the hopefulness and like the hopelessness of their situation paired with a certain event is just remarkable and beautiful, and it captures midlife crisis at the perfect time. And it has an ending that usually Ethan and I would poke fun at, but actually works insanely well for the movie.
Really well.
And the song, epic.
Oh, epic song. Chris, you've seen The Celebration. We talked about this a little bit on After Hours.
Check that out.
Check out our new show, by the way.
Check out After Hours. What's your thoughts on Winterberg and like, you know, and
so
checking out this
when we watched Winterberg's The Celebration, I was the least warm to it. But like Ethan, when you pitched that concept for a film where they're holding a 0.05?
Yeah, 0.05%.
Yes. So that already was like, ooh, I can only imagine what's going to happen in this movie. And like, I can't remember if this was a joke or you were kind of serious when you said, over interterm, we should try that.
Listen, I think we are well-minded adults. I think we know not to get into our temptations.
Don't make the same mistake the people in this movie made.
I know, but now we know what can go wrong. You know, they stayed at 0.05 and they were having a good time, but their mistake was let's go higher. So what I'm saying is let's not go higher and let's see what happens. Because we're not alcoholics, because we'll choose not to. That's literally like a line from the movie.
But yeah, I mean, like, I don't know anything else about this movie. This kind of is a pattern with me. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's like the concept alone is already very intriguing. And like, I know, like, even though I might not be the biggest fan of Winterberg's style, I don't know if it's changed a lot in the recent years.
It has. Yeah. It's not the dogma stuff anymore.
Yeah.
This is a lot more traditional, but it's still like you can still feel his touch, but yeah, it's not as crazy.
His
as the
dialogue is unparalleled to a lot of filmmakers, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Brandon, take us in your number 2.
All right. My number 2 is the film that most surprised me this year. I watched it a few weeks ago. It's Christopher Landon's Freaky.
Freaky.
I'm a big
Freaky baby.
I'm a big slasher fan. So anytime a genre is sort of subverted or they do something new with it, I get excited and I didn't know about this movie until like halfway through this year because like time is a construct and because we don't have movie theaters, trailers, and I don't really seek out trailers like I used to when I was like in high school. Like I didn't know it was coming out. And there's this Blumhouse movie from the guy who did Happy Death Day, which I really enjoy, about like Freaky Friday, like the victim, the final girl, swapping places with the frickin' killer. And that's super crazy because you have this body swap situation where Vince Vaughn is in the body of Catherine Newton and Catherine Newton is in the body of Vince Vaughn. And it makes for some really excellent comedy. There's some excellent kills by Catherine Newton in this movie. Like, Jesus Christ, some of the best slasher kills we've seen in a long time. I think we mentioned this briefly on After Hours. But like, yeah, I mean, I thought the movie was really good and played with the tropes. I know there are some tropes that it doesn't subvert, it just plays into. They didn't bother me as much as some people, but that's because like I'm a little more forgiving of the genre because I know it's slop. There's not a lot of intelligent slashers out there. Like Cabin in the Woods and New Nightmare are like pretty much like the only two I can think of off the top of my head that are like unique, smart, and like all around great movies. But for this, it's a great movie to me because yes, even though it has those conventions, you still feel for the characters, you still care for the story, and it's a very thrilling film. I mean, it combines horror and comedy perfectly. Also, miss the rated R. I don't think we've been getting enough rated R slasher movies lately, especially ones that are brave enough to be gory with what they do. So, very good stuff.
All right. Yeah, I know you've been singing the praises of this film to me. I haven't seen either of the Happy Death Day movies. I know as much as you two like them and some of our friends like them. I haven't seen them yet, so I gotta check those out. I love this thing that this director is doing. What's his name?
Christopher Landon.
Christopher Landon. He's taking like gimmicks from other genres that he likes.
Groundhog Day.
Yeah, Groundhog Day, Freaky Friday, and he's putting it into another genre that he likes, slashers, something that apparently he's really good at like directing.
Yeah, you should do like a Parent Trap slasher movie or something.
You should do like a No, wait, there already is a Home Alone slasher movie. It's
Home Alone 2.
No, it's Don't Breathe.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love that people are being creative with genres and just mixing things together, seeing what works, you know. Yeah, I gotta check out this movie. Chris, I know you're a big slasher fan.
Yeah, so Brandon, I haven't seen this movie yet. Is it on HBO Max?
No.
What's it on?
You rent it.
Oh yeah, off Amazon.
You rent,
I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, like the like you said, Brandon, the slasher genre has kind of like been steadily like fizzling out these last couple of years, which is really sad. I'm hoping that they'll start like, you know, making more of them and maybe revitalizing these iconic characters. But I think films like Freaky remind me a lot of like, you know, films like Cabin in the Woods, where taking these genres and flipping them and just kind of having fun with the form and like using that to kind of shape the narrative and the story, but still retaining like characters and themes and whatnot. I think that's really interesting. And like, you know, just the concept alone is already really funny. The trailer alone, I actually kind of dug the trailer. I think they play it for fun, and I think they do that really well. But also, when you told me like it was surprisingly gory and the kills were great and all that, and there's character and themes, like that surprised me a lot. So, you know, I definitely do want to see this sometime soon. And I love Chris Landon's films.
It's not like the strongest film in terms of character, but like I think it tries at least to have this, and like Catherine Newton's character is really sympathizable with.
Mhm.
I think like you can really get behind her because like there's nothing unlikable about her, and the fact that she's in Vince Vaughn's body and Vince Vaughn's performance in that role, top notch work, guys. Top
Yeah.
notch. Yeah. But I really enjoyed this movie, and I hope you guys check it out.
That's exciting. A nice genre film for this stack, you know?
Absolutely.
All right, Chris, let's go into the final round here.
Gotcha. Well, I'm kind of nervous to give this one because we've had some, not we, but like Ethan has had a revelation about this film recently. Not really a revelation, but like you were talking about it and like you've like not really changed my mind, but you've opened my eyes to something. I saw it on Christmas Day.
Oh,
It's a
interesting.
Pixar film. It's not Onward. It is
Home
Soul.
Alone. Oh. Soul.
It's directed by Pete Docter. I'm gonna get into like the parts I love about this movie first, and we can maybe just like touch at least a little bit on what Ethan might want to share on the film. But basically, it's a film following this guy's name's Joe. He is an aspiring musician, and he's growing old, but he still is very much doing all in his power to pursue this dream he has of becoming a great musician one day. But he dies at one point. So in the afterlife, he doesn't want to go into what's called the Great Beyond. And he escapes it and ends up in a place called the Great Before. Is that officially what it's called? Or is that
I think so.
just what I call it? Yeah. And then it's a story about him mentoring this spirit that is yet to be born and trying to find meaning in trying to help that spirit find its meaning, and at the same time trying to find the meaning in his own life. It's a very existential and metaphysical film, and I think it's one of Pixar's most like ambitious films in terms of the scope and like the complexities of its psychoanalytic like concepts. And Pete Docter is often revered as one of the most like intricate and like smart and emotionally riveting directors that Pixar has under its belt, with films like Inside Out and Up and Monsters Inc. being like some of the masterpieces of our generation of animation like people. And yeah, I thought, I was really attached to this film. I really, Joe's story of him desperately trying to become a musician and everything really resonated with me. But at the same time, it was also a film very much about taking a step back and realizing your life purpose is not determined by your ambition, but also by your experience as a human being. There's more to life than what you want. It's also, your life is also determined by values and like the experiences that you have with the people that you genuinely care about. And it's a very intimate film in a weird way, even for all of its extravagant imagery. It's a very dreamy like film. I think this is one of Pixar's most like unique looking films, and just the way they execute this new world that, how do you visualize the afterlife and the before life? And I think they did it really creatively. I've never seen a film tackle those concepts in this way. The music's great. It's very, I don't know. It landed with me in a way that I think very few films are able to, because it touched something very personal and very niche. So that's why I love this film very much. But yes, I do also want to acknowledge something that Ethan kind of came to the realization of. Ethan, do you want to just like give us the quick intro?
Sure.
Of it?
But just to start off, I like this movie. I thought it was a really good movie. The visual effects, the animation was the graphics.
The graphics? Were good?
The graphics were just great.
It's like the whole movie was like that.
The animation was absolutely beautiful. I think this might be one of Pixar's best looking movies.
Other than
it seems
Toy Story
like 4. I
I
keep saying that after every single new Pixar movie.
Onward didn't look that good.
No, not but like. But I thought the soundtrack was really good. Trent Reznor, of Nine Inch Nails, he made something. It sounded like something like a PS4 menu theme, but like in all the best ways possible. Like, I just love that sort of ethereal, but like still sort of modern and technological score.
Mm-hmm.
And it attempts to convey, I think, a really great message about sort of the up and coming artist, and how to like, yes, focus on your work, believe in yourself, but also like take a look around you, like don't take like your average life for granted and like your everyday things. I loved the parts of the movie where like I don't. It's hard to talk about like really the details of the movie without talking about big spoilers. So maybe spoiler warning here. Hey everybody, we go into a pretty in-depth discussion about the movie Soul for the next few minutes here. Lots of spoilers for what happens in the second and third act of the film. So if you haven't seen it, I put up the time code on the YouTube video, but if you're listening, it's skip to 1 hour, 9 minutes, and 43 seconds, and you should be good to go. You should still watch the movie, though, because it's a interesting discussion that we have. Yeah. All right. See ya. Bye. So there's Jamie Foxx's character, and then Tina Fey's soul. They go back to Earth, but Tina Fey's soul is now in Jamie Foxx's body, and Jamie Foxx is in a cat, And throughout the movie, you see Tina Fey as the human now, like sort of like showing Jamie Foxx that he's missing out on like some appreciation on the littlest things in life, that we as an audience also take for granted,
It's like about
now.
time.
Yeah.
It's like about time. Yeah, maybe. Now, I will link in the description of this video and also on this any podcast description a really great article written by this black scholar named Lennox Orion. They sort of break down what I think is a really important thing to understand about this movie and a really important conversation that everyone should have about it. Now, I know a lot of black audience and critics have been raving about this movie, and that their praises are completely justified. I think it does a lot for the black community in animation, depicting sort of New York life and black life in New York, like the barbershop scenes are phenomenal, and like the jazz club stuff is beautiful.
The flashbacks with Joe and his dad.
The flashbacks with his dad, they're great.
His mother's like tailor shop. Sorry.
This movie does play into some rather hurtful tropes that have been sort of around since the conception of animation, where not only do we have finally like a main black protagonist in an animation film, but once again they are taken out of their body and turned into whether it's a soul or it's the cat, and it's just a little disheartening to see that continuously happen and not see a black character like just be themselves in a film, but I can see where Pixar was going with this. They needed this character to step outside his body to view his life. But I think the most important part we have to discuss is that it just was so weird that they had a character voiced by a white woman go into the body of a black man and sort of
steal it away in a way.
Steal it away and also discover the greatness in life through a black body, It's sort of weird. It's that aspect right there is what the villains in Get Out were like arguing, Like
exactly.
that life is so great when you're in this body,
Yeah, it's ominously like reminiscent of that, and like, I think it's just so like I Ethan, I feel like you're in agreement with me in the sense of like I don't fully believe I fully believe that this wasn't like an intentional thing on Pixar's like agenda, but
exactly.
I think and that's the point. It's I don't know,
but that's just as bad. Like a lot of people are saying that. Why was this directed by a white man? Why? This clearly shows that there was not enough people of color behind the scenes to like point out that this is not okay,
Right.
Also, they bring up in the article that like when one of those ethereal characters, Terry was the name, right?
Yeah.
Like tries to go after Joe, but then they get that guy that was trash talking him at the barbershop.
Yeah, they mistake him for
and
Joe.
I'm like, so did you just make like an ethereal spirit like racist? And what are you trying to say, that like even like the people who control life and death in the universe is racism happens to them too, you know? And
To be fair,
what?
they didn't look at the face of the person. Yeah, I think they just
They
saw,
look nothing alike though.
yeah. I know they do.
Yeah.
I know they don't.
And
But
I'm
I'm
just like,
saying,
what?
I honestly
Yeah.
think if it was like the same thing happening, I hate to say that. No.
Yeah, it's like, so Ethan, after reading that thing, like I was like
Yeah.
sitting there and I was just kind of like, okay, like let's think this through. Like, cause I want to see like how I feel about it and like how do I process this like kind of like, you know, thing, because I absolutely adored this film, but like all of a sudden there's like a discussion about it on a racial level, which of course I'm very passionate about. So it's like I just want to like see how I feel about it. And like one thing that I was thinking about is like, you know, this phenomena, I don't know if I can fully bring myself to blame Pete Docter or Pixar in the sense of like of the film itself, but I do think like it does open up a really important discussion, as you said, Ethan.
Yeah.
And like you know, kind of as a like, I don't know how to explain this, but it also, yeah, it opened up this discussion about whether or not directors should be able to represent cultures that are completely foreign to them. And like, you know, should a white director be able to direct a story like this kind of thing? And I don't know if that's...
I don't think that was the problem. I'm not saying that like white directors can't do that.
Exactly.
I'm saying
that's what I'm saying too.
It's clear that there wasn't enough people of color behind the scenes.
Yeah, to help along and like to see. Yeah,
it's clear that Disney is not putting in the effort to train their workers in like this
like to be more, you know,
there's
aware
like
of this kind of
there's
stuff.
a term for it. There's like, it's like racial bias training or something like that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so obvious that they had no intention of any of this happening, but that's like, bro,
that's how you know it's a more
should have
systemic
someone
problem.
to like
Yeah.
be there to help you call it out, you know?
Yeah, and like I said, that's how you know it's a bigger problem than a confined section of Pixar.
Yeah.
You know, like doing something bad. It's like it's a larger issue that pervades Pixar and maybe a lot of other film studios out there.
Right.
And I was thinking about it a lot. And it's like, you know, Pixar and Disney Animation Studios have had directors lead projects in the past that are white and or like of a culture and are representing a story that has characters from foreign cultures. So
Coco.
You know, yeah, Coco is a great example.
Coco
directed by
is
Leon
universally
Gritch.
praised, and I could tell that there was so much research gone behind that.
Yeah,
and just like a lot of love behind the scenes.
Yeah,
but then
it's
again,
like,
I heard there is like a controversy that story
Exactly.
was stolen from a Latinx person. So
yeah, and it's like there's all these other films too, like Lilo and Stitch, Polynesia, Moana as well, Ratatouille, French, Princess and the Frog, you know, New Orleans Black, Mulan, like Chinese, and like you have all of these like different like films with such diverse cultures, but are directed by people that might not necessarily be of that culture.
Right.
But nonetheless, some of them are handled with great effect, at least in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Mulan, I think is a great example, and I think I can speak on that because I am Chinese.
There you go.
So like,
shut up.
No, shut up.
I don't
you know, the original Mulan is revered in the rest of, in like China and Hong Kong. We love that. Every kid loves Mulan. Everyone wants to be Shang. Everyone loves those three guys. Everyone loves Mulan. And like, you know, and that's how you know, like they did a great job with really just kind of bringing that too. And like Kung Fu Panda as well is a great example. And yeah, it just kind of like, you know, these are all films that were like directed by someone that's not of that culture. And whether or not it's a film that is like where race is a forefront component of the film's content, or if it's a minuscule part of like the narrative in the sense of like it just happens that like one of the characters happens to be black. Like, you know, there have been directors that have been able to achieve that. Like, for example, a good example I think is Claire Denis with Chocolat, or The Last Black Man, San Francisco, Jojo Rabbit, The Revenant. You know, those are all like very much they're part of that story. Like The Revenant, for example, being
Blind
a
Spotting.
Native. blind spotting example. Carlos Lopez Estrada, he is Latinx.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I don't know. I think we can agree. Like we don't necessarily think we can blame specifically, you know, like one person for this, because I don't, like, as we said, we don't think Pixar intended to do this thing. But at the same time, it's also like it's great that we're starting this conversation, because then we can maybe start having petitioning for like Pixar or whatever to start having more racial bias training in their, you know, practices as a studio.
Yeah.
Anyway, we went on a whole tangent there.
Well,
I really
Brandon,
think this.
do you have anything to
Yeah,
say
Brandon,
about
do you have
I
any?
mean, I
took
kind of
over.
had similar thoughts to Ethan. I remember talking to him about it, like, because he brought it up, because I didn't want to bring it up, not just in my review, but when I first published it anyway.
Yeah.
Until like I knew what I was thinking was like in other people's minds, because like I saw a lot of black voices and black critics say that this was a problem, but there weren't a lot. Like if I follow a lot of
Yeah.
black critics online, and
Yeah.
there was like pretty much universal praise for it across the board, and I think there's a reason for that, and it's because it wasn't like Joe wasn't in the movie. What I didn't appreciate was the fact that they went back. It's one thing to have him be in the soul body of himself and
Mm-hmm.
them like to explore his life that way, but to explore his life through that kind of out of body experience is a little weird. Like, and I wasn't sure about the way they were doing it, because I
Yeah.
remember seeing it and being like, I don't know, like I don't like stories where they necessarily, in this sense, switch bodies. Like in an animation,
Yeah.
especially, it can be very tangenty. But like for like something like Freaky, it works because like the Freaky Friday is an established narrative and they're mixing something up. But with Soul, they're not really mixing anything up, because this is a trope that's been played on in animation a lot,
Yeah.
and it doesn't work usually. But I will admit, I think it kind of works near the end. I think the conversation, like how it kind of shifts back to Joe's voice, and you hear whenever he's having a conversation, whether that be with the guys at the barbershop or his mother, like those moments are Joe's voice and his words, just
Mm-hmm.
from the perspective of Tina Fey's character, because like obviously he can't speak for himself because he's a cat. Now, I'm not as like enraged as everyone else seems to be about it. Like I don't think it's like like I said, like I don't think it's as bad, because I'm not they are shooting their shot and trying to do something unique and original that they've like never done before. What is concerning is that it is a trope that keeps occurring in Disney
Yeah.
films. I watched Brother Bear last night. I really liked that film, but it's another one of those situations where you have like Princess and the Frog, Emperor's New Groove,
Right.
all of these
Yeah.
movies where the protagonist, who is a minority or a black person or somebody in an indigenous culture, is
Mm-hmm.
put into the body of an animal. And I think this is the case where like they are not like directly trying to tie it to a fantasy fairy tale. I think it's a very existential film, and their
Yeah.
focus is I don't think any of Disney's focus was to offend, but this is very big on their like stories about transformation and about coming of age. So it's kind of hard not to. They didn't do it in Moana, and that's why that film is so great, is because like and Coco, they
Yeah.
and technically he like slowly transitions into a skeleton, but like skeletons don't, it doesn't matter,
It's
right,
still
Spice?
part of who
Right,
you are. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So Coco and like Moana, like they're getting over it. I think it just takes time, and we need to be patient. The criticisms are still valid. I still have the same criticisms you do with the film in terms of the second act. But yeah, it's still a really great movie. Like you said, it's nothing like Pixar's ever done before. Like you can maybe make a comparison in Inside Out, because Pete Docter for one, and they're
Yeah.
tackling some inner machination of a human being. Just instead of emotion, it's like meaning and life and passion
Yeah.
through the soul, right? Which is a
Yeah.
very abstract concept. And also something I want to mention before we move on to our next movie is that I saw a lot of people not really appreciating the ending of the movie, or how things like panned out in the end, like the third act. There are a lot of people who are saying like, "Oh yeah, it's great," but I think the fact that it's like got no closure and is completely ambiguous is amazing.
I think that's almost the point.
Right,
Yeah.
it is. Like, people are like, oh, I wanted to see so-and-so get so-and-so.
Like perform at the thing
Yeah.
and get an amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but that's like
Yeah.
not the point. This is a movie about themes, not a film about like the
Whether
physical.
or not he's gonna get. Yeah.
There's a
he's-
reason why it's metaphysical. Like, it's
Yeah.
not supposed to be.
The saxophone player kind of like says it flat out at the end, like you know what's gonna happen.
Right.
He's gonna come back the next night.
Well,
It's gonna be the
it's
same
more
thing.
in reference to Tina Fey's character, but
Oh, about like what her life's gonna be like.
right.
Yeah. It's like the famous last quote, since we pretty much spoiled the movie, I may as well say it. It's like,
Yeah.
how are you going to spend your life? I'm not sure, but I do know I'm going to live every minute of it.
Yeah.
I think that's a quintessential line for this film because that perfectly delivers what Joe learns by the end of the film. Anyway, we've been talking about
Yeah.
this movie for so long.
Wait,
Before...
can I
Oh, sorry. Go
just
ahead.
to end this off? Let me
Yes.
just say, if you are at all interested with any of the things that we talk about, don't just stop here with two white guys and an Asian dude talking
Yeah.
about Soul. Like, if you're interested, go read some black critics and what they have to say about the film. Listen to what they have to say about all the great stuff. Give them those clicks, you know, and listen to what they have to say if that's negative.
Yes.
You know, let's
Yeah.
let them be in charge of this conversation, not the Stack Boys. All right, we're just
Yeah.
we're
We're just
two-
guys watching a movie.
Yeah, we're just two guys watching a movie and pointing out something that people with a lot more experience and a lot, let's be honest, smarter than us, fucking dumbasses, barfing before episodes and fucking going to the bathroom during the episodes, you know? Come on.
Real quick, before we move on, I just want to say a really great example of a film that I think is directed by a white guy, but very intimately and wonderfully pays tribute and honors the culture that's foreign to him,
Yeah.
is a film directed by Paul Schrader, Mishima: A Life in 4 Chapters. I think that was
Yes.
perfectly done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that's a white guy honoring another culture beautifully, and that's a great that's a great
Way to
point
go,
of
white
reference,
guys! Woo!
Why did you cheer, Chris? Why did you cheer?
Oh, come on.
I think. Whatever.
Chris loves the whites, right, Chris?
Yeah, big fan.
I love the Asians. Yay.
Anyway, we went for a long tangent.
All right,
Hope you guys
yeah,
enjoyed
long
that. Let's
tangent.
move on.
Let's move on to my last movie. Not
Nice.
nearly as interesting, but still a really great time. We watched it all together. Sort of an indie darling of this year. It is Max. Is it Barbacao? Barbacau's Palm Springs. Now,
Oh,
I didn't know what to expect when I knew there was getting a lot of buzz about this movie at Sundance. You know, it's a Lonely Island production, so Andy Samberg in it, Christian Milioti, like they are fantastic in this movie. I'm not a romantic comedy guy, but this is kind of like Freaky, where a director took a genre, you know, a really heavily troped genre, which is the romantic comedy, and put it in another trope from a different genre, which is the Groundhog Day sort of trope, you know? And I gotta say, I just fuck with this movie so much, man. I gotta say, like, from the music to the visuals to the romance to its existentialist narrative of like, listen, nothing matters because these two characters are stuck in a loop and they've learned what it's like to live infinity, you know, to live forever and not really take value in like life itself. What matters is each other and relationships, you know, and making our way through this pointless existence with someone to love, you know? And I was like, wow, what a great like sort of message there, you know? This movie's funny as fuck. Both the lead actors are great. Yeah, I know we all had a great time watching this. Brandon, you loved this movie like I did.
Yes.
What do you think of Palm Springs?
This is my favorite narrative film of the year.
Yes.
But I didn't include it because I assumed that Ethan would include it on here based on...
I almost didn't include it because I thought it was going to be a triple stack.
No. Not because I didn't love it. I love it so
Right.
much. I've seen this movie 2 or 3 times. But like, it again subverts the genre in a very cool way, and it subverts this this rehashed Groundhog Day trope. And I thought after Edge of Tomorrow, it's like, all right, we've done an action version, we've done a comedy, I don't know, we've done a horror movie. I don't know where this is going from here. And we see this movie come out, and this is like a great romance version of that, right? It's a film that allows the viewer to gain so much love for its characters. And we've never seen a situation where more than one person is stuck in a time loop, you know? Usually it's just like one person lonely. And in this sense, they get to play with more ideas about how other people interact who have the same issue going on. That it almost presents a interesting depiction of mental illness, maybe, if you're looking at it that way. You can like view
Right.
it through that lens of like how people deal with the similar anxiety disorder or something like that, because the people in this film are suffering from the same thing. At first it's like, of course, great because you have infinite amount of time on your hands, but in the end, like, life is really boring and meaningless, and people are what give it meaning. And if you are only seeing the same two people every day, and you're only staying in that one place, life sucks. But if you have somebody to share it with, everything's amazing.
Yes. Chris?
Yeah, kind of like what Brandon was saying. I really, really loved it, like how, like you said, this like genre thing where you have one person stuck in a time loop, but they add a second and you have the dimensionality where you get to compare this dynamic. And I think it's also surprisingly existential. I think Andy Samberg gives really like interesting like take on how a person's sense of self is warped once they're locked in this time loop for however long. And like it's incredibly funny. It's just so dynamic, and I think like it's such an original concept for a especially for a operating within this like locked in a time loop subgenre where I feel like it often gets a little stale, and you see that like you see a lot of like people trying to like do that Groundhog Day thing, but it just doesn't play as well as the original. But this one breathed new life and energy into it. Like I said, Ethan, I love the fashion, I love the music. It's just so tropical deserty. I don't know how to describe it, but there's something so like fitting about it. Like I feel like we're in Joshua Tree anytime we're watching this film, and it's just great. I think it's really original and like very entertaining and digestible too. It's not crazy complex, but it gives you complex ideas for you to take on your own.
Yeah. Ah,
But
great
also,
film.
like, this film starts in the middle. How does,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
For at least one character.
I've never seen like a Groundhog Day movie start in the middle for a character. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Because you're already expecting, all right, I know what I'm going to get from the first third. It's like the setup and like the characters, and then it's just going to be the repeats for the second act. But like they've already gotten that out of the way pretty much.
Right.
So it's a super exciting experience.
Hell yeah. All right, Brandon.
Awesome.
Finish us off with your
All
last
right.
pick.
My favorite film of the year is a documentary called Boys State, released by A24. It's a film basically about these 5 or 6 boys who are sorted into specific parties in a thing called Boy State, which every state does, and now they do it nationally as well. And they separate people to create their own governments that interact with each other. So it's kind of like a model UN situation, but for political parties in the United States. And essentially, these are teenage boys, right? At first, it starts out as like, jokety jokes, like people having fun. But then it gets like really serious. Like these people are like tearing each other apart just to get the glory. And it's a perfect depiction of how our political system acts today. You have a candidate who very much resembles like progressive ideals, the growing diversity within America, and like the changing tide of everything. And then you have one guy who very much represents the older days of the 80s Republican, like a Ronald Reagan. Like he holds him in such high regard throughout the film. And it's such an interesting dichotomy because these guys are younger than us, or at least when they made the film, they were younger than us. And in a sense, you just have this microcosm of everything that makes America America and where we're headed. And you could not be more terrified and hopeful at the state of the world after watching this movie, because of just how, especially now after going through a pandemic, seeing these are the future leaders of this country. Where are we going? It makes you fearful. It makes you hopeful. It's just very exciting, and it's very visceral in terms of being a documentary.
Yeah. you've been singing the praises of this one for a while, and I haven't been able to watch it until recently because I didn't have Apple TV Plus until now. So it's on my list. I will watch this before the end of the year. It sounds so fast. I didn't even know a boys' state was a thing that was. Is this like? Is it for public schools or something?
I
What is
don't
it?
think so. Okay, so
How do they get like recruited? I've never heard of this for Utah.
okay, yeah, it's in every state. My dad was actually in Boise State when he was in high school. And
Oh,
essentially there are a few ways you can go about it. You either know about it because your dad or your uncle or your grandfather was an alumni of it. They
right.
also have girl state, by the way, so it's not just a male thing.
Oh, okay.
But the boy state one was the first one they decided to do. And you're taking testosterone driven boys and you're like, all right, throw you into a very political setting. But you can be either recruited by them, like as like a, you know how they have ROTC guys at your high school. It maybe they'll
Yeah.
like try to recruit you for the military. It's like a
Hmm.
similar situation at like club fairs and such. You can run through the people who run Boy State, or you have people who you knew who are alumni of it. Those are like the ways that people typically get involved with it, and then they have to do an interview regarding why they're interested for the progress, and then for like a week or two in the middle of summer, or one of the breaks during the year, individuals are basically, I think like 500 individuals are recruited, and then essentially they're brought to one location and separated into 2 points. So yeah, I mean, like, it's very thrown together, but like there are a lot of people who do it. Like the beginning of the film, they have a montage as the opening titles of all like the famous people who are either famous politicians or celebrities who are in Boys State, and like
Ah,
you kind of see like the evolution of people, and it's kind of
right.
crazy.
That's super interesting.
It is.
Yeah.
Chris, you
Yeah, I think like I haven't seen this film, and like when I heard about this film, I was really like, honestly, to this day, I'm still pretty how do I put this, like politically fascinated by it, because like the fact that like you know people who are what in high school, what college is it, something like that, the fact that they're able to create like build a representative government from the ground up just on their own terms is something that's really interesting to me, because obviously from where I'm from, Hong Kong, it's not very easy to do that kind of thing. So yeah, I just find that really interesting. And the like boy state is like, I've always found that great documentaries are about taking concepts that are so foreign to you and like entrancing you in a narrative of like, okay, here's how this unfolded, here's what we got, here's all that. So I don't know. Yeah, like I'm fascinated by it, and like I don't know if I've seen any docs this year, so maybe this will be a good one to start with.
It's a good one to
yeah.
punch at the top of my top 10. So
All right.
check those both out.
Oh yeah, because I know the other documentary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's our films, everyone. Wow, we really broke them down. So let's just refresh everyone's memory of what they are before we get to debating this final stack. So, Chris, you want to start us off?
Yeah. So my films were Bill and Ted Face the Music, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, and Soul.
And mine were Sonic the Hedgehog, Another Round, and Palm Springs.
And mine were Wolfwalkers, Freaky, and Boy State.
Wow.
If you told me a year ago that this would be our favorite films of the year, I would not believe you.
Fucking crazy.
Probably
This is
because you
such a
didn't know any
weird-
of these movies existed a year ago.
Yeah.
Honestly, me
Except for
neither.
And the
Sonic.
ones that we did, we were like, wait, you know?
If you would have asked me a year ago, I would have said the movie that came out this week that should not be named was probably going to be on
Yeah,
the stack.
that is the movie. Will not be named anymore. Okay, this is going to be tough. No double stacks this episode.
Surprising.
9 different movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, super surprising. We all had different takes on movies this year. Let's see. Anyone got any pitches? Anyone got any?
Does anyone have any proposals for one that has to be on here?
Palm Springs. I just think
Palm
that's
Springs?
the best film of the year.
I'm down to put Palm Springs
It's
on.
the
Because
best
that's. I
narrative
feel
of
like
it.
that's the one that we've all seen and enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
You know?
I immediately said movie of the year when I saw it. I sent it to
Me
Ethan.
too.
I was like, movie of the year. He was like, yeah, me too.
Did that come out in June?
Yeah.
Wow. It's
But
been
Dead
my
then
movie
Motor
again,
that
year.
long.
we haven't seen a lot of Oscar movies, so that are going to be
Yeah.
Oscar movies anyway. So
But then, like,
Yeah.
hey, Are those even 2020 movies? Meh.
Mhm.
Screw you, critics. Leaving us out. All right. Palm Springs.
Well,
like
we have a great comedy right there, a good genre
I
twisting
think we should
film.
have animation on here too.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be, I feel like, Wolfwalkers or Soul.
Soul.
I've only seen one. You guys have seen both.
Uh,
I don't know. I mean, I think I know Brandon's pick, but
All right.
maybe Ethan, you have a tie.
let me do a total pitch here. Let's go. Never, rarely, sometimes, always. I know that's a lot of critics' top picks of the year. My dad was just telling me at dinner, he's like, hey, have you seen this movie? So many people are talking about it. I'm like, no, I haven't. So that's our like intense drama of this year, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's pretty dramatic?
It's pretty like, yeah, it's pretty dramatic.
Okay, so let's do that. And then let's do Wolfwalkers because, I mean, Soul, like we said, we broke down Soul, but as an animated film, we've seen this sort of beautiful animation a lot from Pixar in the past few years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, Chris, you gotta see Wolfwalkers because, like, what they do with the 2D animation medium is insane.
Okay.
So you should definitely check it out. Is that a good stack? What do you guys think?
I'm okay with that. I think that's a good variety.
What's the final movie?
It's Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always.
No. Like what?
And then Wolfwalkers. And
No,
then
the
Palm
order.
Springs.
Oh, okay. That's
Let's do an order. So, let's see.
Is Wolfwalkers a very enjoyable film? Like, is it like super like fun, or is it kind of
the ending
somber?
is
I don't know.
extremely beautiful.
Okay.
In my opinion.
I think let's start with Wolfwalkers.
Okay.
That's a fun family film. I think the ending to Palm Springs is like, that's what our mindset should be in 2020. You know what I'm saying?
It does capture 2020 really well. Basically.
Honestly, in a way,
like,
yeah.
I think it just
really
hit at the
does.
right time because, and I mentioned it in my review, is like in a time where like we're stuck in quarantine and where everyday life is becoming somewhat monotonous and you're seeing the same people and doing the same things.
That's a great perspective on that, yeah.
And it's like it got lucky in a sense that it came out during the pandemic. So
that's insane. That, honestly, like I never thought of it that way. That's really great. So, I love that.
I think that's a great way to end it. And then we have like the drama to sort of separate these two lighter films.
Okay. I'm here for it.
All right.
They're all very sad though.
Yeah.
Intrinsically.
It's
been a rough year.
We're
trying to make a list that captures 2020. So
that's true.
All right. So here is Stack's official. This is such a weird best movies of 2020 final stack.
Good.
Brandon,
riddance.
Kick us off.
Yes. Our first film is Wolfwalkers, a great Irish-English animated feature that tackles man's relationship with nature and the ever-evolving relationship that man has with each other. It's great.
Our second film is Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, directed by Eliza Hittman, a film following a young woman as she traverses her way through New York and trying to find help throughout her unintended pregnancy. A film about the male gaze, a film about judgment, preconceived notions, and just a very down-to-earth, beautiful, grimy film from start to finish.
And our last film, as Brandon would say, is a film that perfectly captures the 2020 lifestyle and how to find love and meaning in a time that seems meaningless and ever repeating. And that's Palm Springs. All right. There it is, everyone.
Good riddance, 2020, bitch.
Good riddance, 2020. This, man.
Been a hell of a year.
I'm just like, this is such a weird year. It always just blows me away when we talk about 2020 films. Like, my list just feels so different from every other year of the last decade, you know?
Yeah.
It seems more like a early 2000s list, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The blockbusters weren't quite as good, but the indies were like showering the market with good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, tune in next year for our best of 2021. Anyone have any films that they're excited for next year? They're hoping
There's so much shit coming out next year.
I know, so much. And do we think it's even going to come out? Because there's a new strand of COVID coming from the UK. I mean,
I don't know.
Countries are already closing down again. I don't know.
I think I don't know. I'm excited for Disney's movies. I'm glad that they're getting back on the original train after they made 2 sequels that were lackluster, in my opinion. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, like, all this big studios and their release dates are all so fluid that it's really hard to say. Although, one independent film that was supposed to come out this year that stars Dev Patel is coming out next year. A24's The Green Knight.
Ooh.
That
Some
movie,
people have already seen that, and they say
that's
it's amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. Also, Wes Anderson's new film.
Oh, yeah.
We get a new Wes Anderson film next year. We get a new Edgar Wright film next year.
A new
Denis
Steven
Villeneuve.
Spielberg movie.
We get a... Do we really? Oh, yeah, we do. And we get a
got
new
a
Taika
West Side Story.
Waititi film next year with Next
Denis.
Goal Wins. A new Denny. Dude, all my favorite
2021's going to be,
Yeah.
They're bringing the heat in 2021 if it happens. But
But
you know how like every like 10 years has like one amazing, like there's, I don't know, every like 5 years has an amazing year.
Yeah.
I think like 2014 and 2017 like were huge
Oh, yeah.
for at least for our generation of film people.
Yeah.
So I wonder if 2021 is shaping up to look like a great year, but let's hope it
Oh,
happens.
Nia
Here's
DaCosta's Candyman.
Ooh, yeah.
That one.
That looks good. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you had a good time listening to all these discussions about these movies that came out last year, and let us know what your favorite movies of the year were. Come on, there's surprisingly a wide variety of smaller films that people may have watched on a streaming service or something like that, or maybe you enjoyed some of the blockbusters. I don't know.
Good luck.
But let us know on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or in the comments on YouTube. And that'll be it for this episode of Stacked, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you in the second week of January. Peace.
Peace.
Bye.
Poggers.
Buggers.